Good morning, everyone. We'll get started in just a couple minutes. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to story time at Angel Island State Park, part of our California State Parks Ports Home Learning Program. I am so excited to have all of you join me this morning from your homes. This program is geared towards kindergarten through second grade. Of course, all are welcome. So hello from wherever you're coming from all over the world. We're standing here in one of the bunk rooms of the U.S. Immigration Station at Angel Island. Our program is going to be about 35-40 minutes. And so I'd like to say welcome again. And I know we are in a weird time in the world right now. And for some of you kids out there, or maybe most of you, you might be missing your friends and your family and your school. And we just hope that this program brings a little light to your day and that you enjoy the program. So I'm going to take you outside. Hopefully our internet will cooperate. And I'd like to sing you a little song. So let me turn the camera around so you can see where I'm going. And here we go, folks. As we're walking outside, I just want to let all of you know that we would love to hear from you at the end of this program. Oh my goodness, it's a gorgeous day here on the island. This is our backyard here at the immigration station. And now down there, we're looking across the bay towards Richmond. All right, everyone. If you're just joining us, welcome again. And again, my name is Erin, and I'm going to be leading you in a story time and some songs this morning. So the first song I want to sing is just a good morning song. So here we go. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. From here on our island to you in your home. Our hope is that you might learn something new. So we're here, like I said, at the immigration station, and immigrants from over 80 countries came here, from all over the world, speaking all different languages. So one of the things I'd like to say is good morning or hello in some different languages. And I would encourage you, if you meet someone from another country or even in your neighborhood who speaks another language, ask them how to say hello or good morning or some kind of greeting. So the first one I want to say is ni hao, and that's in Chinese. That's a greeting in Chinese. And the story we're going to be reading later is about a little boy who came from China. We live here in California, or at least I do, here near San Francisco, and a lot of people in California speak Spanish. So hola, buenos dias. Maybe you know someone who speaks German. Guten Morgen, good morning. Hello, good hello. Or in France, bonjour. Or maybe in Greece or Cyprus, You might say kalimera, that's good morning. Or in Japan, you might say konnichiwa, hello. So I'm gonna sing that song one more time, and this time I'm gonna sing it in Spanish for you. So here we go. Buenos días a ti, buenos días a ti, de aquí en la isla a ti en tu casa. Esperamos que aprendas algas cosas nuevas. All right, folks, we're gonna go inside and read you our story. So we're going back inside the barracks here of the US Immigration Station. And here you can see some of the bunks where immigrants actually slept in this building. This building is over 100 years old. All right. I know it might be a little blurry as I walk, so just bear with me, and we'll get us all set here. I know this view is not super exciting, it's an old wall. So I'll turn the camera back around and we'll get started, folks. Hi again. All right, so right now, I am going to get up some pictures for our story time. And the story we're going to be reading is called Kai's Journey. So Kai's Journey is about a little boy, like I said, about 11 or 12 years old, and it's based on a real story. And this real story that it's based on, you're going to get to hear. So give me just about 30 more seconds and we'll get our pictures up here ready to go. And behind me here, you can see the bunk beds. All right, folks. So you should all now see Kai's journey to Gold Mountain there. Goodbye, China, Kai whispered. The engines of the SS Hoover rumbled, pulling the giant steamship slowly out of the harbor. Kai reached into his pocket and touched the worn edges of the last letter from his father, Gom-san. Kai repeated those two words, Gom-san. He had thought about so often since receiving this letter. He forced a smile towards his new home. Here I come, Gold Mountain. Here I come, America. Gom-san means Gold Mountain in Chinese. Kai turned his thoughts to the morning he had left 3 weeks before. He remembered his mother's silence and her trembling hand as she served him his last breakfast of tea and rice porridge, cooked just the way he liked it, thick and steamy. He thought of his sister, Joy Yi. She was 8 years old. He was 3 years older than her. And when Kai thought of his grandmother, he squeezed his eyes tightly to hold back the tears. Mother and Joy Yi would come to Gom-san one day, to Gold Mountain, but grandmother would never leave her home. When Kai said goodbye to her 3 weeks ago, she had taken his face in her hands and gently rubbed his cheeks with her thumbs. Be a good boy, she whispered to Kai, and do what your father tells you. Tears trickled down her face. Now, Kai swallowed hard, just thinking about leaving her. As Kai steamed away from his homeland, the wind whistling in his ears, his sadness mingled with new feelings of excitement. Would father recognize him? Kai faintly remembered the gentle tone of father's voice, but he hadn't seen him in 4 years. Now that Kai was finally on the ship, he could hardly believe it was only 3 weeks ago that he had waved goodbye to his home as his train left Toisan. Toisan is where Kai was from in China. He purchased his crisp ticket with money father had sent and studied the strange print on the ticket. Hong Kong to San Francisco, July 8th, 1934. Kai shared a third-class cabin with 5 other young men. No fresh air or light followed through its steel gray walls. When Kai went to bed that first night, a scratchy wool blanket kept him warm enough and a thin pillow cushioned his head. He ached from head to toe with homesickness as he fell asleep, cradled by the gentle rolling of the huge vessel. The next morning, Kai explored the ship. He could see nothing but glassy blue ocean stretching forever on all sides. Up on the deck, he came upon a skinny boy who looked his age. Kai pulled up a crate next to him. Ni hao ma, my name's Wang Kai Chong, he introduced himself. What's yours? I'm young Jim Feng, the boy answered, nodding shyly. And there on the screen, you can see the 2 boys on the railing of the ship. Kai learned that his quiet new friend was born in the year of the dog, enjoyed playing games, and was going to live with his father in America, just like me, Kai exclaimed. Kai had felt less alone since he met Young. Since Kai had left home, his father's letter had been his only comfort. It was a long explanation preparing him for his trip to America. You can only come because you are my son. Be ready to prove this to the Americans. The days on board the ship passed quickly. Kai loved the salty smell of the ocean and relieved he wasn't seasick like many other passengers. Kai and Young met every morning after breakfast. They usually talked about food. Meals on the ship were not very good. They sighed and rubbed their stomachs longingly. Several days later, Kai came upon Young sitting in a corner of the deck studying a booklet of papers. Kai joined him and asked what he was reading. Young quickly closed the booklet, tucked it under his shirt, and walked away. Kai was surprised at Young's behavior. He must be hiding something. Kai decided not to ask any more questions. Grandmother had always told him to respect people's privacy. Kai wondered if Young might be a paper son. Paper sons were people pretending to be the sons of people allowed to come to America. Kai was worried enough about his own interrogation to get into Gold Mountain, even though he truly was coming to live with his father. Imagine Young's fear if he was a paper son. And there's Kai and his friend Young again. A misty bank of fog greeted Kai on the morning of the 21st day of the journey. When Kai squinted toward the horizon, as he had done every morning, his heart leapt. Out of the fog, a dark mass was emerging. Land! Is this Gold Mountain? He wondered. Is this Gum Sun? Kai looked up and saw Young standing at the railing. Young glanced nervously from left to right, but didn't see Kai. When he thought no one was looking, Young quickly tossed his booklet of papers into the sea. Kai watched it disappear among the waves. He sensed his friend's nervousness, but knew it was best to allow Young to keep his secret. If he is a paper son, Kai thought, he will not want anyone to know. The risk of being caught and sent back to China is just too great. Kai pulled from his pocket father's worn letter and read it again. You will be taken to a place called Angel Island to be questioned by men in green uniforms. They will interrogate you to prove whether or not you belong here. Don't be afraid, Kai. Know that you do belong here. You are my son. Answer their questions honestly. If you do not know an answer, do the best you can. Be a good boy, don't cause trouble, and I will be there at the pier to greet you when you are landed. Kai put the letter back in his pocket and closed his fingers around it. The ferry had docked at a big wooden landing on the island. Kai and his fellow passengers were ordered to get off the ship. Why are they treating us like prisoners? Young whispered to Kai. Kai shrugged his shoulders. As Kai stepped off the ship, he saw guards in green uniforms, just like his father had described. The guards directed them where to go. Up close, their faces were different from Chinese faces, especially their large noses.
Since Kai's suitcase was small, he was allowed to keep it, but others had to leave their bigger suitcases in a shed on the dock. Kai looked up at the buildings on the island. They were large and made of wood painted white and yellow. The guards told the new arrivals to hurry and marched them up the long pier. And that photo there you see, that's Kai coming off the ship with some of their belongings. Kai followed the other new arrivals up a steep pathway to a large building on the hillside. They waited in line. A man in a white coat gave an order that Kai did not understand. An interpreter translated the order. Please remove your clothing for a medical examination. Kai gulped. He had never taken his clothes off in front of strangers before, especially white-faced strangers in white coats. Grandmother had always told him that the devil wore a white coat. White was the color of death. Kai remembered his father's warning to be a good boy. Uneasily, he did as he was told. When it was his turn, a white-coated man pressed a cold metal object onto his chest and gestured to Kai to breathe in and breathe out. Then he lifted Kai's eyelids and peered into each of his eyes. Kai shuddered at how close he was to this foreign man. He could feel his breath on his face. Kai stood up straight, inflated his chest, and did his best to appear healthy and strong. Doctors continued to inspect the new arrivals from head to toe as they dressed. Kai shivered. He put his clothes back on and was taken out of the hospital. The guards marched Kai and the other new arrivals up a long covered stairway into another large building. Kai noticed thick black wire crisscrossed on the windows, like cages, he thought. Kai's heart sank as he entered the huge room. He saw row and row of metal bunks, 3 tiers tall. Young men were lounging on their bunks, staring quietly at the newcomers. Kai found an empty bunk at the far end of the room. He heard the doors close and lock behind him. At least I will not be here for long, Kai assured himself. A bell tolled in the distance as he fell asleep to the sounds of creaking beds, snoring, and sniffling. The next day, Kai found a small yard enclosed by a high metal fence topped with sharp, pointy wire. A few older boys pushed past him and ran into the yard, tossing a ball to each other. Kai called to Young, and together they watched the game all morning. They're trying to throw the ball into that basket on a pole, Young observed. Yes, and the other boys are blocking them. I am not at all like that. I'm just not like that basket, but I have good aim and you are quick. We must learn this new game, Young, vowed Kai. One day melted slowly into another on the island. Every night when Kai went to sleep, he told himself that he wouldn't be here much longer. He learned to play basketball. He ate soggy rice and overcooked vegetables for lunch. He ate soggy rice with leftover vegetables for dinner. Lights out by 9 o'clock, day after day after day after day. This was not the life Kai had expected to find in Gold Mountain. Kai wondered when his turn would come to be questioned by the immigration officers. After all, it wasn't that why he was here? The Chinese men in this room were strangers, but they all shared the dream of reaching Gomsong, Gold Mountain. For Kai, the worst part was the endless waiting. One night, Kai tossed and turned. He woke up to a noise like a rat scratching its claws against the walls. Ugh. He peered nervously down to the bunk below, holding his breath. What was this sound? Kai's bunkmate was carving something into the wall behind their bed. What could the old man be writing? Relieved that it wasn't a rat, but puzzled, Kai lay awake listening throughout the night. And there in that picture in the book, you can see that writing. That's what his bunkmate was carving. In the morning, Kai waited until the old man had left for breakfast. As soon as the barracks were empty, he looked on the wall behind his bunk and found it covered in Chinese writing. His eyes followed the rows of the old man's poem down the wall. And here's what the poem said. In the quiet of night, I heard faintly the whistling of wind. The forms and shadows sadden me. The floating clouds, the fog darken the sky. The moon shines faintly as the insects chirp. The sad person sits alone, leaning by a window. Father had said nothing in his letter about this locked room with sad poetry on the walls. Kai dragged his feet down the covered walkway to breakfast, aching for home and feeling terribly alone. One foggy morning in August, when Kai was playing basketball, he heard his name called in an unfamiliar voice. Dropping the ball, he raced inside to find a guard waiting by the door. The time for his interrogation had finally come. Kai's journey began smoothly. A tall, stern white man wearing a wool suit asked all questions in English. A Chinese man, also dressed in a suit, translated everything the tall man said to Kai. A uniformed guard waited nearby. A white woman, the first Kai had ever seen, sat clicking her fingertips on a black machine while Kai and the men spoke. That black machine was kind of like a really old computer. It's called a typewriter. They began with basic questions. How old was he? What was the name of his village? What were the names of all his family members? How old were they? For how long had his father been in America? What was his job? And so on and so on. So many questions. After answering these questions with ease, Kai began to relax. Surely he would pass. But suddenly, the questions became more difficult. How many chairs were in your house in China? What a strange question, Kai thought. It was a small house. Let's see, 4 people lived in it, plus his father when he visited, so there were probably 5 chairs. 5, Kai guessed. What do the chairs look like? Were their backs round or square? Square, replied Kai. The interrogator shot an accusing look. Interesting, he replied. That's not what your father said. Taking a deep breath, he replied again, Sir, to the best of my knowledge, the chairs were square. He searched the interrogator's face for a sign of understanding. I apologize for arguing, sir, but I lived in that house and sat on those chairs every day. My father lives here in America and only returns to China every 4 years. Who do you think knows the chairs better, him or me? He swallowed. Believe me, they're square. With that, the interrogator raised his eyebrows to the guard and to the translator. Gradually, a smile broke out on the interrogator's face. The translator glanced sideways at him and chuckled. Even the guard joined in their laughter and winked at Kai. Kai didn't dare smile in the presence of the inspectors, but relief washed over him. After his interrogation, Kai waited and waited. He didn't even play basketball for fear of missing his news. Then, on the morning of the 4th day of waiting, a guard entered the barracks. Wang Kai Chong, Ho Sai Ge. Me? I have landed? He scrambled down from the top bunk. Kai was overjoyed. He was free to go home to his father, but the other boys were staying behind. Some might even be sent back to China. Kai bowed to each of them solemnly. He tried to say goodbye to Young, but he would only stare out the window. Kai whispered, Goodbye, good luck to you, my friend, even though Young probably wouldn't hear him. Kai was on his way to San Francisco to find his father at last. His heart pounded as the ferry approached the docks in San Francisco. Squinting into the sunlight, he searched for father among the small crowd of people on the pier. Would he be there? Kai craned his neck to find him. Then, just as he was coming, he saw his father running along the wharf, waving his hat. Kai, father, Kai called back. The boat seemed to take forever to land. Finally, the railing was lifted. Kai pushed through the crowd and stood face to face with his father. He bowed respectfully, but father took him into his arms and held him tight. Kai knew at last that he had found Gongsan. He had found Gold Mountain. The end. I'm going to show you just a couple more photos here. That photo in black and white of that little boy, that was actually Kai, the story, the little boy that this book was based on. And here is a photo of Kai as a grandfather with his grandson. So I hope you liked that story. And here we are again in the bunks, just like a bunk that Kai would have stayed in. So I'm going to turn the camera around and we're going to walk to the other side of the building. Here we go. Again, it might be a little fuzzy. Our internet here on the island is a little slow sometimes. As we're walking through, I would like to say to you all there at home that we would love to hear a poem that you might know or you might write. So I'll tell you at the end how to send that to us. So we're going through the building. I'm going to show you out the window here. There's the outside. You can see the water way off in the distance. It's not too far, actually. We'll keep going. All right. I'm going to walk just a little bit faster. So I know you might not be able to see this too well. I'm going to show you another room of bunk beds. But first, I want to show you some carving on the wall. Oh, here's another picture that you might like. Here's a photo of a little boy at the immigration station. All right, we're going to go into our last room here. So I'm going to try to walk super slow so you can see some of the bunks. This is the actual room where Chinese men stayed. Now, if you were a little boy, 12 years or older, you would have stayed with the men. If you were younger than that, you might have stayed with your mom or all alone. A lot of kids, just like Kai, came here by themselves. So we're going to walk through the bunks here. Maybe you can draw a picture of a bunk bed just like this. See how crowded it is? All right. This is a pretty small room. And there's a lot of bunk beds here. All right, we're gonna go one more place. Hope you're not getting too dizzy watching this. I'm gonna turn the camera around. Hi again, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed this story time. Bear with me as I get the camera set up again. And right behind me there, let the camera focus, you can see some of the carving on the wall, way over here. So that's kind of like the poem that was read in the story. This is another poem. All right. So I'd like to leave you with a song. This is a song I wrote about Angel Island. And I hope you enjoy it. Take my hat off. Oh, there's a good picture right there. At the bottom of the screen, you can see my patch. Do you see that bear? That's our California State Park patch. And maybe when you are all older, or maybe some of you are already older, you can come work with us. We would love to have you. I get to live here on our island and work here, and so I hope you enjoy this song. Talks about the animals that live on the island, and here we go. You can see my guitar. I'll step back a little so you can see my guitar. Can you see that? Do any of you play instruments? Oh, Angel Island, dear Angel Island, dear San Francisco, but in her bay, you are a state park of California, California, USA. Oh, Angel Island, to Angel Island, immigrants came from far away, 82 countries, many from China. In these barracks here they did stay. I'm gonna sing about the animals now, okay? And all of these animals that I'm singing about, I've actually seen here on the island. Oh, Angel Island, on Angel Island, so many mammals you'll see all day. Raccoon and mule deer and harbor seal, but our lone coyote, no way. Now the birds. Oh, Angel Island, on Angel Island, up in the sky find our birds of prey, red-tailed and osprey, and if you're really lucky, a bald eagle flying away. Now I'm going to sing about the plants. We have so many plants here. Oh, Angel Island, on Angel Island, native plants that you'll see today. Crystal live oak, Padron and Toyon, and the California Bay. Oh, Angel Island, on Angel Island, wildflowers on trails lay, poppy and lupin, Fremont star lily, and monkey flower along the way. Oh, Angel Island, this is our island, one of our state parks here in the Bay. We live and work here and hope that you will come to visit us someday. Thank you, friends. That's the end of our program today. I'd love to hear what you think about our program, and even cooler would be if you drew something, draw a picture, or maybe write a poem or sing a song, and your parents can help you get that up on social media, on Facebook or Instagram. You can tag either California State Parks or Ports Fan Art on Instagram or Facebook. That's PORTS Fan Art. We've been getting some great art from all over the world about our programs. Remember, there's programs all day long from 9 a.m. through, and the last one's at 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. So check out some more programs. And we hope you are all staying safe and staying home. And we'd love to see you someday here at Angel Island State Park when all of this weird time in our world eases up a little. So thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.